today is
Paper hearts.
there. How to grow a garden in 4 easy steps.
That was like an ebook.
It could be. It could definitely
It sounds like an
be.
ebook.
So the topic today is the sequence of the creative order. And the quote from the Living the Science of Mind by Dr. Ernest Holmes is, the sequence of the creative order, or the way the law and the word work, is, first of all, absolute intelligence. Next, it's word or thought. Following this, the law is set in motion. Then at the end of the sequence is the creation or the formation of the word in definite and specific circumstances, situations, or creations, which are the logical, inevitable, mathematical, and mechanical reactions of the law to the creative word. Okay, that's a big, huge mouthful. So what he's talking about basically is that before even speaking your word, doing your treatment, doing your affirmative prayer, doing your affirmations, setting into motion your intentions, even before that is intelligence. And that's where everything begins. That's where all of life begins, is in our own intelligence, which is the intelligence of the universe. So that is what we're talking about today. Louise Hay puts it this way. She says, every thought we think and every word we speak is creating our future. It's as though our thoughts go out into the universe and are accepted and are brought back to us as our experience. And it's not even just as if, that's exactly how it happens. It's exactly how it happens. So I wanted to sort of put this into visual format. So you'll recognize that symbol having taken some classes. Science of Mind symbol. So we are surrounded by that infinite intelligence. We are part of that infinite intelligence. There's no spot that is not that infinite intelligence. So everything is that. Then when we have this desire, this idea that we want to set something in motion, that we want to create something, we first create from our word. And this is the seed that we plant. This is our garden that we're planting here. So we first plant our seed. And where do we plant that seed? When we plant it into the soil, which is the law. And the law takes that seed and then from it creates form, the plant. That is how creation works. That's how all creation works. So let's start at the beginning. The soil. I was watching this gardening program called Big Dreams, Small Spaces, and it's one of these British gardening programs, and the gardener extraordinaire who is famous apparently in Britain, his name is Monty Don. He comes to people's houses with these small spaces, and they together transform them into something beautiful and wonderful. And he starts every single time with a plan. You can't create a garden without a plan, right? So the owners of the property come to him with this big idea. They have this idea that they want to have a garden. They want to have a beautiful space. But it's just a sort of nebulous, out there, kind of not formed sort of potential until they create a plan. So creating the plan is like preparing your soil. It's like taking all of that stuff out of your consciousness that doesn't belong there. You have to clear the space. You have to clear out all the garbage that's there, like the rocks and the weeds and the dead wood, whatever is there. You got to clear that all out. You got to prepare the soil and you got to prepare your plan. So that's where intelligence happens. That's where the intelligence that is sort of all potential consolidates itself into forming an idea. Then the next thing is that you have to plant that idea. You have to give that idea over to the law. That's where Ernest Holmes talks about speaking your word. And the thing with speaking your word is that your word isn't just what you say. And it's not even just the idea that's in your mind. Your word comes with it all of your belief systems about what that word is. So when you're planting a seed in the soil, are you planting it with a big old bundle of something caustic and poisonous? Or are you planting it with something that is fertile, that's going to nurture it and grow it? So your idea, your word has to be filled with your belief, your positive belief, your full belief. And this is where affirmations sometimes don't feel like they work very well, right? Like you can say an affirmation and think, well, I said my affirmations, how come nothing's happening? Well, it's because your belief is going against what you are saying. You haven't brought your belief fully to bear to nurture that. And so, well, I'll just read you a quote here from Amy Moran. She says, if you draw inaccurate conclusions about who you are and what you're capable of doing, you will limit your potential. So you have to not draw those conclusions. You have to work on your own belief. You have to make sure that your space is cleared and prepared before you go there, because if you don't, you're not going to end up being able to grow a very healthy plant. Reverend Abigail Scherer, who is the person who wrote the talk outline for today, said, I liken consciousness to a giant skyscraper. I may be living on the second floor, but the thing that I created with my thought is up on the 17th floor. So until I can get to the 17th floor, it appears that it's still missing, that I'm still waiting. What happens with consciousness is that you can create something and it still doesn't look like it's appearing in your life. And this is something that quantum physicists say, that the actual creation happens instantaneously. It's just that it doesn't always happen on the same level as we're at, right? And so there are many sort of dimensional layers, many potential layers in our existence. And until you hit the right potential layer, you're not going to see what it is that you are doing or what you were creating. So this is what she's saying. It's like I'm on a different floor. Or like perhaps you're sitting in front of your TV watching a show that isn't very interesting, not even realizing that 3 channels down there is something that is super interesting on. You have to get off the channel that you're on in order to see what's out there. Catherine Ponder, a Unity Church minister, wrote about the power of affirmations, and she used to say, apparently, that you should start and end with this phrase: in an easy and relaxed manner, in a healthy and positive way, and then say your affirmation. I like that, so I just thought I'd put it up there for you. Anyway, so yeah, so speaking your word, that's planting your seed in the soil, and you want to speak your word in a way that is going to be nurturing of that. You want to speak your word in a way that has conviction behind it, and you want to work on what your conviction is before you even set your intention. And if you don't think that you have the conviction of it, then go back to clearing your soil, go back to clearing your space first, and work on your own consciousness and your own level of consciousness about what you believe. So the next step is the law. The law is what actually grows the garden. When you plant a seed in the soil, you're not the one that is making the seed grow. It's the workings of the universe that is making the seed grow. But what you are doing is continuing to create an atmosphere for that seed to grow. What you are doing is you are still making the conditions conducive to the growth of that idea. And so you have to keep watering it. You have to give it the light and the water. You have to give it the space. You have to continually clear out all of the weeds that want to encroach upon it in order to allow it to grow in a strong and healthy way. And so this is where when you are doing your treatments and your affirmations and you are putting that into the law, that you're not allowing yourself to turn it in the other direction by saying, I don't really believe that, or by allowing those non-belief thoughts to come into your head. Louise Hay was talking about how thoughts create reality, and she said, how many prosperity affirmations do you do in a day? And they will always say something like 3 probably. And then I say, how many poverty affirmations have you done this day? And that could be 300, depending on where you're coming from or what you have running through your mind. You don't want to set those positive affirmations of what you want in your life into the soil to grow and then trample all over them with the opposite affirmation. And so then finally, you recognize you're good. You see the form of what is growing in your life. And this is a point where everybody thinks, oh, well, this is the easy part, right? You just let it show up. But is it? Do you always notice the good that's in your life? Do you always pay attention to that? Amy Moran says, once you draw a conclusion about yourself, you're likely to do 2 things. Either look for evidence that reinforces your belief, or discount anything that runs contrary to your belief. So if you are out there setting a belief into motion, you're going to look for it. If you are not looking for it, if you're looking for the other shoe to drop maybe, if you're looking for how maybe you were wrong about being able to set that into motion in the first place, or maybe you're not good enough doing this kind of affirmation thing, or maybe the law really isn't working for you, well, that's what you're going to find. So don't trample on the growth that's happening because you're noticing weeds elsewhere. You need to water and shower your plants with gratitude every single step of the way. Every time you see a little more growth, you have to notice that and shower it with love and gratitude. And just know that when that plant is full grown and strong, well, then you'll be able to move on and plant another row and take away the weeds from that other row. You have areas in your life where you've got some things growing and other areas of your life where you don't have things growing yet. And in those other areas, you need to just allow yourself to still be focusing on the good that you're receiving where you're receiving it, so that you can be prepared to move on to the next thing and grow another wonderful piece of your life. One step at a time, one row at a time. So I wanted to give an example. And since it's Mother's Day, I just thought I'd tell you once again, you probably heard it before, the story of my kids. That when I went to ministerial school back in 2011, Amy was 12 years old, and it was my intention that she was going to come with me. And Brent was 17 and a half, and he was not going to be coming with he wasn't going to be coming with me anyway. He was living with his dad at that point in time and almost grown, and I thought, okay, well, he's going to be okay. So I don't need to worry about him. But Amy's coming with me. Well, it didn't work out that way. It didn't work out that way, and it was a time when I had to sort of step back from what I wanted and see what she needed. But what I did was, all the way along, I set the intention that I was going to have a good relationship with my kids, a good and strong and loving and caring relationship with my kids. And sometimes it didn't feel like that. I'll tell you, the first Mother's Day that I was away did not look like it looks today. I'll just put it that way. I remember Dr. Ken talking about mothers in his talk at the Center for Spiritual Living in Kelowna, and I had to leave I had to walk out because I felt like a horrible mother. I left my kids behind. I had a calling. I knew I needed to be in Kelowna. I knew that that's where Spirit wanted me to be. But I had to leave my kids behind. And it's not like they were in any kind of danger or that they were being cared for properly or that they were being abused in any way. They were in a good, loving, caring home. And they still had me. I just wasn't right there. I had to sort of let go of all of the garbage that I was thinking about that, all of the garbage that I was feeling about that. I had to clear away my garden. Because that first year, for a little while there, my daughter stopped talking to me. And it wasn't that she was angry at me. She just didn't know how to talk to me about what she needed. And when I finally let go of how things look and I finally cleared away my garden and just set that solid intention that I am going to have a good relationship with my kids, no matter how it looks on the outside, I'm going to have a good and loving and strong relationship with my kids. When I did that, suddenly we started talking. And over time, I'll tell you, I have the most amazing relationship with my kids. And I feel like I am just so blessed. I hear other people, complaining about this kid or that kid, or, talking about how their kids aren't doing well in one way or another in life. And you know what? I just don't have that thought at all. They are where they need to be, and you know what? They are both strong and capable, and they are both brilliant and caring and loving. They're good people. And I figure if they're the kind of people that I like to hang out with, then I've done my job. Then I've done what I need to do. And that's my story. So you see, I went back, I tended my soil. I got rid of all those thoughts of how awful it was. Because it wasn't awful, it was exactly what it needed to be. And then I planted the seeds about how I chose to show up in my relationship with my kids. And then I continued to water it by continuing to affirm that that's the case. And just knowing that everything was good exactly as it is, because how could it be anything but good? We are sitting in, living in, breathing in, being in the expression of goodness. That's all there is. And now I get to reap this beautiful crop of goodness in my relationship with my son and my daughter. And they are awesome. And they love me. And I wouldn't have it any other way. This is how we unfold the goodness in our lives. 4 easy steps, who knew, right? So what I would like to just leave you with today, Reverend Abigail has a sign in her office that says, what if your tomorrows consisted only of what you were grateful for today? What if your tomorrows consisted only of what you were grateful for today? Find your gratefulness, find your gratitude, find what you really, really love. Plant the seed, water it, and care for it, and just be in that. So let's do our affirmation. Whoa. 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 There you go. Today I plant the seeds for a new reality in my experience. I choose words, thoughts, and actions that create a higher vision for my life. And so it is.